Whether it's haunted, spooky houses hiding in plain sight, people literally dying from nightmares, or a psycho knife-wielding mother, the only thing that makes scary movies more terrifying is the idea that they actually happened.
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
This is Movie Secrets, and settle in for our top 10 horror movies based on true stories. Number 10. The Exorcist, 1973. Halloween season is just around the corner, and it is time to bring back this all-time horror movie, The Exorcist. The Exorcist, still regarded as one of the most terrifying films of all time, is based on William Peter Blatty's novel of the same name. The story revolves around a young girl possessed by a demon, and the priest tasked with exorcising the evil presence from her body.
That's much too vulgar display of power, Karis.
Where's Reagan?
In here with us.
The book and subsequent movie are based on the true story of Roland Doe, a 13-year-old boy from the late 1940s who learned about spiritualism from his aunt, including how to use a Ouija board. Strange things started happening around the house soon after his aunt died, including dripping noises and scratch marks on the boy's body and mattress. Several priests were recruited to perform exorcisms, and the events were covered in an article published in the Washington Post in August 1949. Number 9. The Amityville Horror, 1979. Moving into a new home can be rewarding on many levels. It may mark the transition from apartment living to something more substantial for some. Others may see it as the beginning of their own family. However, no one knows who or what happened inside those walls. The Lutzes, a family of 5, move into a suburban neighborhood on the South Shore of Long Island, New York, and begin to experience the terrifying repercussions of the previous occupants, all of whom were brutally murdered by their sibling.
What do you think?
I love it.
It's especially unsettling because the film appeals to all of the senses, whether it's the sound of buzzing insects, the slight smell of perfume, or the weight of presence in an otherwise empty room. The Lutz family was murdered by Ronald J. DeFeo Jr. on November 13, 1974, in what is now well known as one of the most notorious murders in U.S. history. Like in the film, the Lutz family moved out after only 28 days, but they didn't even bother to pack their belongings this time. Number 8. Psycho, 1960. Psycho is a 1960 American suspense film and psychological thriller directed by Alfred Hitchcock that is partially based on the real-life killings of Wisconsin serial murderer Ed Gein. Psycho pushed the severe censorship limitations of the day and audiences' mettle with its shocking bursts of violence and seductive sexual explicitness, and it earned Hitchcock the biggest hit of his career.
She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Number 7. The Shining, 1980. The Shining is arguably the best horror picture ever created. It has an unsettling tone that stays with you long after you've seen it. The picture is filled with unexpected moments and is soaked with continual chaos.
Here's Johnny!
The horror technique employed here is psychological in nature. Although The Shining was a fictional story, the location was inspired by genuine hauntings at Colorado's Stanley Hotel. Stanley Kubrick's 1980 masterpiece film was based on Stephen King's novel The Shining. Because of the beauty of its photography, the caliber of its ensemble, and the timeless mystery it creates, The Shining has remained a cultural influence over the years. Yes, The Shining is a horror film, but it is also about the strength of humanity, abuse, fear, and what makes a true monster. Number 6. Scream, 1996. Scream is one of the most iconic scary films of all time, but few people are aware that it is based on a real-life story. Ghostface was inspired by a series of murders committed by Danny Rolling, aka the Gainesville Ripper, in the classic slasher film starring Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Drew Barrymore, and Neve Campbell.
Corn syrup. Same stuff they use for pig's blood in Carrie.
First, Rowling brutally murdered 5 students in Gainesville, Florida, raping, stabbing, and mutilating them. Then, in 1994, he claimed that he wanted to become the next Ted Bundy and agreed to plead guilty to 5 counts of murder before being sentenced to death. Number 5. The Strangers, 2008. Director Brian Bertino was inspired by 2 real-life occurrences when he penned The Strangers, the infamous Manson family killings and the Ketty cabin murders. The former's narrative is well known, whereas the latter is a still unsolved quadruple homicide that occurred in Northern California's Sierra Nevadas in 1981. Both incidents involved home invasions, stranger-on-stranger violence, and mass murders.
They don't want to talk. When they want something, people just don't stand out there staring at us like that. They want something.
However, the traumatized victims in The Strangers were only 2 people, a couple played by Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. Number 4. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, 2005. The Exorcism of Emily Rose is an ingenious take on what it represents to experience demonic possession and the consequences of exhausting all possible cures for a sick 19-year-old girl. When an exorcism goes wrong in this case, it brings up all the moral and legal issues that don't fit neatly into a courtroom box.
We are Satan, enemy of the faith. Give me your name, demon!
The film is based on the life and death of Anneliese Michel, who was born and raised in post-World War II Germany and began experiencing symptoms of schizophrenia. Her devout Catholic family, however, insisted it was the devil's work and demanded that an exorcism be performed at their local parish. Under the supervision of Father Arnold Renz, Anneliese was severely deprived of food and water and physically abused, all while pretending to help her. Her parents, Renz, and another priest, Ernst Alt, were all found guilty and liable after her death. Number 3. Zodiac, 2007. In the late 1960s, the Zodiac killer tormented the San Francisco Bay Area and is believed to have killed 5 people. But he wrote in cryptic notes that he had killed 37. What's scarier still is that the Zodiac killer evaded capture. That terrifying tale was transformed by David Fincher into the 2007 movie Zodiac, which follows the lives of the guys who grew fixated on trying to unravel the mystery.
This is the Zodiac speaking. I'm gonna kill them.
Fantastic.
Robert Graysmith, a political cartoonist, Paul Avery, a writer, and David Toshi, a detective, were all genuine people who were actively involved in the search for the Zodiac killer, and who were fixated on apprehending the offender. Hence, every crime depicted in the movie, including the escape and the double killing of adolescents David Arthur Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, 2 teens, and the escape of pregnant Kathleen Johns and her unborn child, were based on real events. Number 2. Dahmer, 2002. Jeffrey Dahmer considers his last possible victim, a young man named Rodney, in this fictitious fragmented biopic of one of America's most renowned serial killers. As Dahmer contemplates the destiny of his target, we see flashbacks to the events that led to his transformation into a monster, from Dahmer's torturous connection with his father, to his first kill, to his patrolling of Milwaukee's homosexual bars. Number 1. The Hills Have Eyes, 1977. Though many critics panned The Hills Have Eyes at the time, it is now regarded as one of the top horror movies of the 1970s. A horror movie specialist, Wes Craven, crafted this viscerally violent thriller on a shoestring budget, and some horror fans consider it his best. However, the movie wasn't a huge box office hit and has since become somewhat of a cult classic. On the other hand, this film was largely based on a Scottish story about a 16th century criminal immortalized in 18th century criminal biographies. These movies are chilly and give an adrenaline rush for anyone, even if you have watched them before. So which one will you be watching first? Let us know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to Movie Secrets.